everyone. Welcome back to Android Study Jam again. And today we will be not doing a lot of we won't be delving deep into development. Today we will be only focusing on Kotlin programming language because tomorrow is a big day. We will be building two apps. So just to prepare for that, we will only be learning some Kotlin basics, which are very important in point of view of Android development as well as what we will be building tomorrow. So make sure that you are listening very carefully and you may or may not enjoy what we will be doing today because obviously we don't have any Android development involved, but it's very important, is what I want to say. So yeah, let's start with it. Okay, so I guess my screen is visible. Can someone confirm if my screen is visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Thank you, Muskan. So let's start with it. So today is the session two. So, but first, let's go through what we have done yesterday. So we first learned about Android Studio. We learned that it is the official IDE for developing your Android applications. And after that, we have also learned about Android Emulator. So Emulator was basically a software that would mimic your physical device on the computer. I also told you about how you can also run the app in physical device like I was doing. And we learned about user interface. So going back to it, because user interface is something that is very important. So user interface is something that lets you communicate with the app. So if you are like right now, if you are watching at your Google Meet, then you might be seeing that we have some buttons there. We have an option to switch on the mic, and because we don't know what is going inside, we just know that okay, if I click on this, mic will switch on or it would switch off. So things like that actually like contribute to user interface. So user interface is anything that lets you communicate with the app. But other than these buttons, we also have few things like we have text views. So any text that is written on the screen is known as text view. Any image that you are watching, that you see on your app, is basically known as your image view. And other than that, we have a lot of views, but these are some basic ones which with which we will be working. And then we also learned about layouts. So yesterday, like I could not explain it to you very thoroughly, but going again over that, that layout is nothing but a container. So if you consider layout as a container, then layout basically is a container in which we have all the views. Like we have text views, we have image views, we have some other views as well. So all of these are basically embedded inside the container. So we have a lot different types of layouts. Like we have constraint layout, we have relative layout, and we have also some other layouts, but these two are something that we will be working with again. And we have views. So as you know, so anything that you see in your screen that lets you communicate is basically your view. So let's go again and connect all these things. So user interface was something that will let you communicate, and this user interface has a lot of elements. So each of these elements are basically known as views. So the view that we are talking about, like text view, button view, image view, all of these are UI elements. And then we also have these layouts, but layouts are not UI elements. They are basically containers that will contain these views. So you can say that these layouts are view groups. Why are we calling them as view groups? Because they are the containers which contain all these views. So to sum up, layouts are view groups and views are UI elements. So I hope that I made this clear. And you can interchangeably use layouts and view groups, you can use any of the terms. Either you can use layouts or you can use view group. So having said that, then we have views. We have already talked about it. We have a text view here, that is hello Android. Then we have an image view here. It's a picture, and then we have a button here. So if buttons are basically clickable items, when you click on them, it will do something, right? And if you are familiar with HTML, you must have worked with this on click listener, which would actually respond when someone would click. So we will also be working with on click listener. So just give you what all we will be working with. So after that, let's get started with the Kotlin basics. So I hope that at the end of the session, you would start loving Kotlin a little more, because it is little different to what we have already learned. Like it's different from the Java, it's little different from C++ or C that we have already learned. So let's start with it. So we have already talked about this yesterday as well, like how to declare a function in Kotlin. So we need to use a keyword fun, and then we need to write the name of the function followed by arguments which will be enclosed inside the parenthesis. That we have a return type. So then we have our body of the function. So the declaration is different than how you would be declaring a function in case of C or Java. So it's a little different. And also, you can skip the return type if your function is returning nothing. I hope that you are understanding that how Kotlin is actually reducing the code. You don't have to write a lot in case of Kotlin. uh, Let me tell you that Kotlin is an object oriented programming. So, Kotlin and Java are basically very similar, but still, this reduces a lot of code. It actually, writes precise and concise code. So, that is one more reason that you should be loving Kotlin. So, let's go and actually write this in our editor. So we have our editor open here. I have already, created a project. So let's write this function, that is the main function. So you must be knowing that the main function should be something that it's necessarily a part of your independent program. So if you write your main function, it should be like this. And since our main function won't be returning anything specific, so we just move on and try. Start by writing our favorite program, that is Hello World. And now let's run this. So, whenever you are running your program or anything, like even if you are using IntelliJ for Android development, you can see the progress of like how much it has been compiled or not. So you can see it here. Right now we are seeing, and since I'm running it for the first time, okay, I think it ran a different one. Okay, it's running a different file. I'll just close all these and then come back. I just create a new project instead. hope this pen will work fine. Okay, so it's working fine. We have worked with this main function earlier as well. So if you want, you can always declare its return type. So I have said that void is basically known as unit in case of Kotlin. Write unit here. It would work the same. It has ran and you can see that there is no change. The reason behind this is basically, as I've already told you, that you can skip in case your function is not returning anything. So since it did not return anything, we can work with it. So other than that, let's talk about how to declare variables in case of Kotlin. So let me just. So in case of Kotlins, we have variables and we have values. So it's similar to how we have variables and constants in case of other programming languages. So in case we want a variable to be mutable, so sorry, the variable is like entity which is mutable, which means that you can change its value in the function like at different times. So for example, if I write var x equals to 5, yes, you don't have to like define a data type for it, but if you want to, you can always go back and work the same way. So this is one more thing that is really amazing about Kotlin, that you necessarily don't have to determine your like write your data type. So if I write var x is equals to 5 and after that I so you can see that it's printed the value of this variable. So like even if we add a data type here, it's going to work the same way. You can see that there was no change in the program. That was because it did not make any like difference. So, like this was all about when you initialize the variable then and there itself. But what do you do to initialize? Well, that is when you need this data type, and it is very necessary that you declare this data type for the variable when you are not initializing it. So if I did not initialize, like if I just in case miss this, you would see that it would throw an error. Define the data type in case you are not initializing it there. So this was all about var keyword, that is variable. And if we wanted this to be val, so like see, if we made it val, so once we have initialized it, we can't change it. Try to change it, it will throw an error. Why? Because it's a constant. We can't change. Since we can't change it, we won't like attempt to change it. We'll just leave it. So this was all about variables in case of your Kotlin and values as well. So variables are entities which can be which are mutable, and this values or VAL, that is your val keyword, define entities which are like immutable. You can't change them. So I hope you will take care of this thing and never attempt to change the value of a variable, this value of this constant. So other than that, we have something called string interpolation in case of Kotlin. So what is string interpolation? Interpolation is basically when you write your like whenever you want to print a value of a variable, but like you want to embed it inside a string and you want to print it. So it gives you the independence of doing that. So let's see how you can do that. Like for example, if I want to print value of the variable x, so I'll just print this. So this is the format with which you should be doing it. So you need a dollar sign, and then after that inside curly braces should be the value of the variable. So in our case we have this. Let's run and see. So I hope that you understood how we can do this, and that was all about variable values, and then we had string interpolation and all those things. So after that, let's look at what we have next. Okay, so you know about arrays, right? So arrays are wait a second. So array is a collection of similar data types. If you are here, then you must have known about array. So array is nothing but it's a collection of similar data type, and what an array like visualize it in your mind. This would be how you would be picturizing it. Is nothing but an array of characters or char data type. So let's move back and give this Kotlin programming language a touch of Java. So if you are from Java background, you must like have seen that we write string args. So in this case also we can write it. How do we write it? We just write args, and then after that we inside angular brackets we need to write string. That is why I just like went back and explained to you what is array and what is string in case you are not able to understand. So it will work the same way. Now let me tell you one thing that this Kotlin language is basically an object-oriented programming language. It is a fully OOP language. So it runs on JVM, that is Java Virtual Machine, and you must if you know Java, then you also know that Java also runs on JVM. So what this does is basically, since we don't have to explicitly define any class in case we want to write something, so like if we want to just work with functions, like only the main function, then we can choose to not write the class. But since it runs on JVM, what this does is basically it internally creates a class. So this class is basically this name, that is, you can see that the file name of this is small a sj2.kt, but when we are trying to run it, it changes the first this first character to capital. And the reason behind this is basically because JVM actually converts it into a class file. So you know that classes conventionally, whenever we define classes, we write the first character in capital. So that is one thing that you must know about Kotlin. Other than that, you might see that in case of Kotlin, when we are writing data types, what we are doing is basically we are writing it like capital INT instead of INT, like we used to write in case of C or Java. So the reason behind this is again because basically Kotlin treats all data types as objects. So the data types that you are using are basically objects. While you run this, it internally creates a class file of the same name, just changes the first character to its capital form, and that is how it runs. So other than that, let's move and see what we have next. Okay, so we have already discussed this, that if we have variables and values that are uninitialized, then we should they are initialized, then also we should specify the data type. I mean, in case of initialized, it's a choice, but in case of uninitialized, it's a necessity. Then after that, we have, if we don't specify the data type, we can do that only when it is initialized there. If we are not initializing it, we cannot do that. We don't have the choice of not initializing it. So let's move. Then we have calling and passing a value to a function. I think that if we are already familiar with how we do this, it's very simple. You just need to call, like whenever you are calling, if it's returning nothing, you don't need a variable to which it should be assigning a value. But if it's returning something, you need to first declare that variable and like use an assignment operator and then call it. But you can see that this thing is common in both the places. Here it's returning something, and here it isn't returning something. So there's no use of assigning the value to some variable. So this was all about calling and passing value to a function. Then we have something called lambda functions in case of Kotlin. Now, what are lambda functions? So, lambda functions are used when we need a function for a short period of time. So, basically, you can call them as short functions which just do the job, and there's no need of writing very large codes for these. So, lambda functions are something that actually Kotlin gives you access to. So you can use lambda functions always. And while we will be doing animated apps, we need to use a lot of lambda functions. Other than this, there is one more thing that Kotlin gives like us in the independence of, and that is that we can use high order functions. Now, what are high order functions? So high order functions are like when you can pass functions as arguments to a function, and when you can return functions like when you can return functions from a function. So those functions are known as high order functions. So I hope that it's a actually high order functions are a little difficult to understand, because for that you need to first understand what are lambda functions. Then you need to actually go in and look at how it is being passed to a function and how it is being returned to a function. So all these things are really necessary for what we will be doing tomorrow. So we will be coming back to it a little later, but for now, let's look at what is intent. So intent, like if we were to explain what is intent in general word, intent is nothing, like it's like an intention. So the meaning of intention is that, okay, I want to do this, I'm purposely doing this, so it's basically called intention. So in this case also, in Android we have something called intent. So intent is an object representing some action to be performed. Like I said, that if you the action of doing something, not only use for an intent is to launch an activity. There are two types of intents, implicit and explicit. Now, we have talked about what is intent. It's basically when we are actually thinking of performing some action, that is known as intent. And we have two types of intents, implicit and explicit. Let's see what is implicit and explicit intent. So an explicit intent is highly specific, where you know the exact activity that to be launched, often a screen in your own app. So we will be using intent in Android development, as I said. So we will be using intent to things inside the app. So the app that we built yesterday was a very simple app. It did not had any button. We did not had to do anything. It just had text views and image views. That is, the user did not necessarily had to go and do something, but the explicit and implicit intent basically involves the user as well. So the implicit intent is a bit more abstract, where you tell the system the type of action. So in case of implicit intent, we need to tell what we are actually going to do. Okay, like opening a link, composing an email, or making a phone call, and the system is responsible for figuring out how to fulfill the request. So an explicit intent is highly specific, where we know what to do, what kind of activity should be launched next. If you want to know what is activity, so activity was basically a screen inside an app. So for example, if you open and your any of your app, let's take an example of a Kotlin app, an app that is built on Kotlin like Zomato. So as soon as you click on your icon of the Zomato, you would see that there a screen would come, and then after that you will click on a button, and then after that it would launch another screen. So all these screens are nothing but activities. In Android we call them activities, obviously in a general world we call them screens. So a screen, whenever we actually want to navigate from a screen, we will be using explicit intent. And whenever we will be working with something that is outside the app, like for example, if I want to share a message from my app to my friend, or I want to make a mail from my app to my like any colleague. So all this happens because of like all this can be done using the implicit intent. So I hope that I made that clear about explicit and implicit intent. We will be looking into it deeply tomorrow, but for now this is all you should be knowing. So let's move and see what's next. Okay, so it's what I have already explained, that is an activity. So an activity represents a single screen with a user interface just like a window or a frame of Java. So Android activity is a class of context theme wrapper class. So if you don't know what is a class and a subclass, so I would recommend you to actually go through what is a class, because if you don't know what is class, you won't be able to make the be doing tomorrow. So if I were to talk about a class, then I would say that a class is nothing but a blueprint. A blueprint of what? A blueprint of similar type of objects. Say for example, if I'm talking about fruits, I know that a fruit has features. What are those properties? It has a taste, it has a color, it has a shape. Now, if I were to actually code that, code all these properties of fruit, then I would define a class name of the name fruit, and then I would write, okay, it has a variable, like it has a taste, it has a color, it has a shape. So all of these are basically, we are just creating a blueprint of what kind of properties the fruit is having. Other than that, you can also add nutrition value and all those things, so the quantity of sugar it may be having and all those things. So this is all about class. Another common example of class is like, if you say that okay, we can define vehicle as a class. So we have a lot of automobiles around us, and so if we define vehicle as a class, we will have we are basically just collecting all the properties that all these vehicles would be having, and we make a blueprint out of it. Like a vehicle would have a model number, it should have a brand name, it should have a color, it should be like how many, like what kind of a vehicle it is, if it's a two-wheeler, if it's a three-wheeler, or some other things like those. So all of these are known as class. And objects, so objects are nothing but an instantiation of the class. Now what is instantiation? So as I explained to you that I can create a class named fruit, but how we will be using it, it's just a blueprint, it has nothing. So if I want to use it, I can say that okay, an apple is a type of fruit. So I can create an object named apple of the type of fruit. So this was a very rough outline of what class and object are, and they are very important in point of view of this Android development. So I hope that you actually go through it because we will be working with those as well. After that, we have this. So basically, I have took the liberty of, you know, adding this to the presentation because I wanted to show you that what is an activity. Because a lot of time, in fact, when I was learning, I was very confused about what is an activity. As I said, that an activity is a screen, but don't confuse activity with layouts. Activity and a layout is different. An activity is the combination of both the XML file and the .kt file. But in case of layout, it's just a part of your XML file. Okay, it's just a container. So like if I click on any of these buttons, you can see that we have buttons here. If I click on any of these buttons, like for example, I click on feed, it would move to a different activity. So you might have got an idea that it would be doing this using the explicit intent. So using the explicit intent, it has navigated from this part to this part. We will be learning how to do that tomorrow if time spares. And then if like you want to move to some other, then it would move to some other activity. So these are basically very important in relation to what we are going to do tomorrow, and obviously they are important if you want to learn Android development. So make sure that you know clear your basics first and then move. So after that we have something like I have actually did that like I thought that it would be a good idea to tell you what's the difference between Java and Kotlin. So you can call Kotlin as Java plus some more features. Why? You would be able to understand after you observe this table. So, you know, Java is not pure object oriented programming, while Kotlin is. It has null safety. No, Java does not provide any null safety operator. So null safety is basically when, like for example, if something is returning null value to you, how would you handle that? So Java does not has any resources for those, but Kotlin has checked exception. Java has checked exception, but Kotlin does not have. Then we have invariant array. Java does not has invariant array, but Kotlin has. Smartcasts. Java does not have it, but Kotlin has. Then we have lambda expression. Java does not have it. And let me tell you, lambda expression is going to be a very this Android development. So that is why you should actually learn about lambda expression if you don't know already. Then we have Kotlin. In case of Kotlin, yes, we have lambda expression. Then singletons object. In case of Java, yes, we have. But in case of Kotlin, you can easily create it. So there are few things which are available in Java, but they not. As you can see, there's a lot of difference between the code that we write in Java and the code that we write in Kotlin. We actually reduce the amount of code in case of Kotlin. So that is also a benefit of using Kotlin. Then we have functional reactive programming. Java does not has, but Kotlin has. So this was all about a comparison about what is Java, what is like the features that Kotlin offers and what Java does not offer, or I would say what Java offers and Kotlin does not. So I have explained about class, but I like this is again if I were to define it. A class is a user-defined blueprint or prototype from which objects are created. It represents the set of properties or methods that are common to all objects of one type. So this like this I've already explained what is a class, what is an object. But still, if you like needed a clear definition, that was why I added this as well. So I hope that you have understood what is a class, what what is an intent, what is a lambda function, how to call and pass a value to a function, and when to specify data types and when to not. And also we learned about this array and string. Then we also learned how to declare a function in Kotlin, which we have already did by the way. So this was all that you need to learn about Kotlin programming language. So I'll now just actually go to what we will be doing today and learn a little more about it. So I'll just stop presenting for now. Just give me a minute. So, as I have already told that tomorrow we will be building two apps. So since we will be building two apps and there would be like around only 1 hour, so let's save some time and explore what we will be building. We will start the real work tomorrow, but for now, what we can do is basically get introduced to all the things that we would be needing. So I'll just present my screen. So this is actually a part of your code lab, but it was a very interesting app, so I thought that we should include it in our sessions. So it's basically a dice roller app. Now, before we even begin, let me ask you one question. That is, how do you think, what is one thing in program that would mimic a dice? Like you must have heard about this function which mimics the dice. Let me tell you that when you throw a dice, it it gives it produces random numbers. It could land on any of the face. You don't know. There are actually it's very random, and you don't know what face you would be getting as your result. So there is one function that actually mimics this kind of like situations in which we need random results and something that is not biased, and that is basically a random function. So if you know, you would have used a random function earlier as well. So in this app, we will be having a core functionality. Like if you remember the last time, the app that we made did not had any core functionality because it was a very simple app. It did not had any, logic behind it. But in this app, we would need a logic because it's a dice roller app. So there should be something that would mimic how a dice works. So actually, we will be first learning the core functionality of how a dice works so that we can mimic it in case of programming. So let's see it. So this is basically a code lab. The code lab is basically Android Basics add a button to an app. So you can take this code lab. This is on your own as well, but let's do it. Okay. So as I said, we have some before you begin. Go through it thoroughly. If we don't have time, we are just going to roll with it. So we have roll random numbers. So when we are rolling random numbers, you know that a normal dice has six faces. So it can have any of the six faces. It can land on any of the six faces, and we would get anything as a result. So first, we will define a variable which contains all these numbers. So Kotlin also has a this amazing feature in which you can define ranges. So we write For example, let's say, and basically what this did is basically inside the x variable, it is having all the numbers, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It has all the numbers from 1 to 10, including 1 and 10 as well. You want to check if that is true or not, there is one this thing called is present. Lets you check if a number is present inside this range or not. Let's see if this works. I'm not sure if it would work on Kotlin Playground or not. For the best. Let's say 5 is present. Okay. We're facing some error here. Give me a minute. Okay, so I was making some mistake there. Okay, so anyway, so as I said that a dice should have 1 to 6, it has 1 to 6 faces. So if we want to define a variable that would mimic this dice, then it should always contain 1 to 6, faces. So I have just defined this, that is where x is equals to 1 to 6. And after that, we have, like, if we move, then you could see that it's calling a random function. So a random function would mimic how a dice would work. And since we are calling it on this, the variable that we have, that actually contains the numbers 1 to 6, so it would produce any of the numbers from 1 to 6. So let's do this. We have the solution code here as well. So you can actually take this code lab and do the things. Let's do this. So we have first defined a variable x from 1 to 6. Then what we are going to do is we have to find one more variable would return. So let's call the random function and this as well. You can see that it's producing 3. But let's rerun this. It's producing 3. You can see it produced a different number this time. So I think this is a proof that how randomly this works, and it produces like a returns a different number every time because it's working randomly. See, it's producing a different number every time. So this random function, like this whole thing, would be what we will be using tomorrow when we will be building our dice roller app. And I hope that you are clear about what a random number, how to, like, you know make this random number and how to produce this random number. So after that we have something called, okay, so we need to create a dice class for that. So since this all this like throwing a random number is something that a dice would do, so in this code lab they have told us to actually do all this functionality, like all the properties that a dice would have. Like in this case, a dice would have some sides, some faces. So you can add these properties inside the dice class. So after you have did this, what you can do is you can create an instance of this dice class. So how you will create the instance of the dice class? Remember, I told you that you need to create an object to instantiate a class. So in this case also you will have to instantiate the class, and that is how we will be doing it tomorrow as well. And other this will be just what we will be doing inside our .kt file. This will be these will be the things that we will be doing inside the .kt file. Obviously we will give it an very beautiful UI so that it actually looks like it's a dice rolling app. So you can also check the random like how randomly it throws number by changing the number of sides it has. Like in our case we did only from 1 to 6. What you can do is you can use 1 to 10 here as well, and check if it throws a different number every time or not. See, it's producing a different number every time. So this will be what we will be doing. Other than that, we will also be building a BMI calculator. So in this, like what is a BMI? So BMI is basically a measure of like it's basically height upon sorry, weight upon height square. So in that we will be actually the users would be able to input their height and weight, and we will be producing their result. Apart from producing what their BMI is, we will also be telling them the category they are in, that is if they are underweight, they are normal, or they are overweight. So in this case we will be using if else. So if else is where in case of Kotlin is very similar to how it was in C. So that is why I did not like um, went on to explain what is if in case of if else in case of Kotlin. So in that case, we will be using this if else, and in this dice roller app, other than this core functionality, what we will be doing is basically whenever it will be producing a random number, we will be actually changing the image that would be in like in the center of the screen. So in that case, we will be needing the switch statements. So let me tell you, in case of Kotlin, there is nothing called switch statement, but it is actually known as when statements in case of Kotlin. So we will be learning about when statements as well. So it works very similar to the switch case statement. So I don't think we will be having any problem with these two things. And that was all that I had to tell you about what we will be doing tomorrow, and what this was all about the session. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I know that it was not like we did not actually went on and like learned a lot of things, but that is only because we are short on time. We need to only learn what we will be needing in the next session. So if you get time, I would recommend you to kindly go through all these all these things whatever we have discussed today. There are a lot of tutorials available on YouTube, and also you have the choice to go and learn using code labs. Also, one more thing that I forgot to explain to you tomorrow is that if you are building any apps after learning from Android Study Jam, you can share it with us on our on our WhatsApp group, or you can mail it to us on tibdsc@gmail.com. So few of these selected apps would be forwarded to the main team, and these apps would also get featured on social media. So if you are building any apps, do tell us, send us the screenshot. Other than that, as I have told you that you need to complete the track number 2 to be eligible for certification. So if you are actually completing the track, then you would be getting the badges that are in the track number 2. So what you can do is you can capture a screenshot of your developer's profile along with all those badges that you had, and you can mail it to us tibdsc@gmail.com. I'm going to just mail it, and as soon as you will be mailing us, we would be issuing you the certificate. Also, don't forget to join the Discord server, because I have seen that not a lot of people have joined. So if you are participating in this study jam, make sure that you join the Discord server. And that was it for today, guys. I hope you liked today's session and do come tomorrow. We will be doing a lot of work tomorrow. So come prepared. And yeah, you can sign off now and have a great day.